What's up, guys? GCK doing second video in a row. Didn't get time to talk about it in the last video, the ramble, so I want to talk about it. I'm just going to talk about it for as long as I can in the 15-minute time limit. So, awesome. So, I was kind of bored, and I'm just like, what have I not been following enough of? FWA. Yes. I know probably very few of you have heard of it, or look up regular results or what have you. But something I've been trying to do is follow FWA, which is a British promotion. It used to have ties with Ring of Honor. Apparently, there was at some point or another that Gabe Sapolsky had some type of relationship, either booking-wise or just talent-wise, with FWA. Talent is true. I don't know about booking. They did co-promote some shows. I believe it was FWA that helped ROH go to England. I believe, doing their thing there. I'm sorry, I'm blanking. Still watching South Park. It's the one with KFC and testicular cancer and medicinal marijuana, a classic, instant classic. And not 8 or G1, just instant classic. So they did some co-promoting, back in the day. Stars that they've had are Doug Williams. Stars that they made, I would say Doug Williams made there. Paul Burchill was made there. You want to look up the real Paul Burchill? Look up some of his stuff in FWA. You will be amazed. It's crazy. Katie Lee Burchill, aka Nikita, as she was known there, was there and did a lot of cool stuff. Trying to think of other people. Guests that they've had over there. They've had Steve Carino there, wrestled there. AJ Styles has wrestled there. Raven's wrestled there. Christopher Daniels has wrestled there. Jerry Lynn's wrestled there. Terry Funk's wrestled there. Mick Foley made an appearance once. I think once. That's all I can think of at the moment. Yeah, and they got a bunch of other guys that were kind of their big thing. You had Jody Fleisch, who I believe was on some of the ROH FWA co-promote shows. Spud, who's now known as Rockstar Spud. You got Johnny Storm, who's been in TNA, and I don't know about ROH, but he's been in TNA. Who have been kind of mainstays there. And I would say and probably the guy that probably no one knows about unless they've looked at FWA, is Alex Shane, who was the big name in from about 01 to 07 when FWA closed down in 07, only to be reopened up by Alex Shane himself. He's now the head of, I believe it's head of creative content or something like that. He's a real fascinating guy, in my opinion. There's a lot of interviews, basically shoot interviews of him that you can find on YouTube. He takes a very shoot attitude to wrestling. Almost any promo he has, he will expose the business. But I forget, it was one interview where he said, how exposing the business in a lot of ways. It's okay to, I don't know. I'll try and find the video, and I'll try and post it in the description, where he actually says that line. But he has a very interesting stance on kayfabe and how it's used, how it's, if it should be presented to the outside wrestling world or not. He's a very interesting man. He's also quite the popular wrestler. So let's see. And now, so FWA was doing some stuff in '99. Actually, they were. I believe there was. Okay, it was 93. They were known. I forget what the original. Let me actually look that up. Right, folks. FWA stands for Frontier Wrestling Alliance. There we go. Look it up again. Before it was known as the Fratton Wrestling Alliance back in 93. Was that right? Yep, 93. In 99, it became Frontier Wrestling Alliance. In 2001, 2002, it started to get a big makeover. And in my opinion, and some people, I think Alex Shane has said it, I think some other people have said it, that it's if you had to compare it to an American promotion, it would be the ECW of the UK and probably all of Europe. And when you watch, there's some matches you can find, some highlight vids you can find, and you get that, you do get quite that feel. They're almost like an ECW ROH type product for the UK, and especially when you compare them to World of Sport and how long that was on TV. And then when World of Sport stopped being aired, FWA tried to really take that place. And I love how the headquarters of FWA are in Portsmouth, Hampshire. I wonder where New Hampshire got its name. And it's not like we have a city named Portsmouth. Interesting. I don't know why I was talking out the side of my mouth. That's kind of weird. In 2007, they did a thing with IPW UK. I know I'm saying a lot of foreign things that not many people are going to know, but I'm hoping that maybe some people will check things out by some of the things and people I described. They had a feud. So in kayfabe, in storyline terms, FWA closed down because they lost their feud with IPW UK, when really they just closed down. But they were reopened in the summer of 2009. They crowned a new champ earlier this year, I believe in February, with Martin Stone. And they're still in the process of deciding their tag champs and their flyweight champ. So they're starting to revamp, and it is very new. It is quite different, or it feels quite. I think a lot of people are quite different. In this this new era of FWA. However, they build new stars. That's what they do. Everything. Sorry, I just want to try and get some actual facts right before I just start running people down. Yeah, craziness. Okay, so we got FWA heavyweight title. You've had people like the title was under a different name. I think it was British Heavyweight Championship, but now it's just FWA World Heavyweight title. But you've had people like Jody Fleisch. Look up anything about the first British Uprising show in 2002. A very big event. I mean, they had Doug Williams and Jerry Lynn, AJ Styles and Johnny Storm, and the main event was Flash Barker, who was kind of an old school type guy for FWA, and Jody Fleisch, who was anything but old school. They had a ladder match, a very important ladder match, at least in terms of the company. They put over Jody Fleisch, him grabbing the title. However, 2 weeks later, do you know who wins it? Christopher Daniels, yes. Then I believe it was at an ROH FWA co-promote show when Doug Williams beat him for it and went on to have a very Samoa Joe-esque title reign. And then he lost it in very cool fashion to Alex Shane. Yes, and he has, after Shane had been having a program with Steve Corino for a while, which Doug Williams helped in, which set up this title match. Alex Shane won. Things got very, very cool. And then they had this guy had Vanson wins it. Vanson, I believe, was signed with WWE for a very, very short time. And then there was a time when Robbie Brookside held it. And he was 40 something then. He's pushing 50 now. And I mentioned Robbie Brookside because he very much relates to the new FWA. So that's kind of the history of that title. Flyweight title, their flyweight picture has always been cool. They've done another comparison to ECW. Their flyweight division has been popular for putting on the three-way dances at British Uprising 1 and British Uprising 3 in 04, 2002 and 2004. They had the flyweights go out for three-way dances that were very, very cool matches that really, very similar to the ECW three-ways with Super Crazy, Little Guido, and Tajiri. That same idea. So they do give the flyweights really that chance to shine. And you'll see a lot of flyweight type wrestling in their tag team division as well, especially nowadays. It's a mix of heavyweights and flyweights, and the flyweights can stand out quite a bit in the tag division as well. So, talking about what's happening now in the new FWA, and I think something that's very important, or could be very important, for British wrestling that people don't know. People in the States are talking about Fortune, BDK, Nexus, EV2, not really EV2, but I mean Fortune, Nexus, BDK, the big three kind of takeover stables happening here. In the UK, they have a faction called The Agenda, and I believe they have a very, very cool idea and purpose behind it. That being that it's four guys, one of them being the FWA World Heavyweight Champion Martin Stone, who I heard about before. He was actually in IPW UK. He actually ended FWA, but then he came to the new FWA, and he's doing quite well for himself. He's quite good. And once he had won the title, he basically turned heel, and he joined up with Dave Morales, who, imagine a Husky Harris, Dusty Rhodes type physique, maybe even a little pudgier, but actually fairly agile, actually quite agile for his size. And then Reese and Redmond, who are kind of two big power guys who tag together. And those four guys make up the Agenda, or the original Agenda. I'll get to that in a second. Yeah, those four guys in the Agenda, and their purpose is to go to the Promised Land to make their way to America for the larger promotions and the larger money, and basically rob British wrestling, use British wrestling as a stepping stone. While kind of the idea that Alex Shane has been pushing is that he's trying to rebuild British wrestling, and so that's that. And then back in June they had a show called The Art of War, which was a very important show. There was a scheduled match to be the Agenda versus Leroy Kincaid, who is who's one of the top baby faces, heavyweight baby faces. The Cartel, a top baby face tag team, and was scheduled to be Doug Williams. Yes, Doug Williams was supposed to make his way to FWA and help out. Long story short, Williams can't show up due to flight issues. Magnus shows up, turns on the Resistance, which is the faces, joins the Agenda. So the Resistance new partner is Alex Shane, who never wanted to step in the ring in the new FWA, and did. And things have been crazy from there. I didn't get to touch on everything. I'll probably make some annotations about some last couple things, but that's pretty much, my thoughts on FWA and why it's some cool stuff. DoubleCrossKing, stay classy.